because look at the statements she made. She was dragged down. I had it written down, forcefully throw reporters to the ground. I mean, campaign managers aren't supposed to forcefully throw reporters to the ground. What ground? In fact, if you look at her face, her expression doesn't even change. And I don't know, she said she's got a little bruise. Who gave her the bruise? I mean, how was the bruise then? People,
if the tape was what she said,
stuff.
if you saw on the tape something different, would you have fired Corey?
Oh, if he threw it to the ground, I would have fired him immediately. Absolutely. If she was thrown to the ground. But, I mean, look what she said. I was jolted backwards. Someone grabbed me tightly by the arm and yanked me down. Campaign managers aren't supposed to forcefully throw reporters to the ground. Now, look, I would tell Corey, it's very easy for me to do that. That's actually the easiest thing. But I can't destroy a man's life with somebody that does the story. Now, her story changed once she found out that there was a tape. All of a sudden, it's, this is a problem because now there's a tape.
All right, that is Donald Trump on last night's program responding to this whole Corey Lewandowski, Michelle Fields issue. We have some new developments. The prosecutor in the case has been outed. Jerome Corsi writing on WorldNet Daily today that the prosecutor in the case in Jupiter, Florida, is a Hillary supporter. Anyway, an article published by the Palm Beach Post has been circulating since Tuesday evening because it lists the Palm Beach County State Attorney as a member of a 150-member Florida Leadership Council, which was established by the Democratic Party to promote Hillary Clinton's presidential candidacy. I had, I'm not going to reveal the contents of an email exchange I had at 3 and 4 in the morning last night with Michelle Fields' boyfriend. Somebody who's been, look, I've been friendly with Michelle Fields. I have absolutely no issues with Michelle. We were sued together by Lindsay Lohan and her mother, Dina, over this ridiculous lawsuit, and we joked about it all the time. And what I was telling Jamie last night in the email is I looked again and again and again and again. I must have now looked 100 times at the video, and I don't see anything that remotely identifies itself as inappropriate or an assault. It is, to me, it's the typical moment when a campaign says no more questions. Okay. And by the way, it's admirable that Michelle went in for a last question. That's what reporters are supposed to do. It is. That's what, and she's good at her job. She's in there and she's right next to Trump. I see somebody putting a hand in there to stop it, and it's Corey's hand. Okay. Is this, I don't see anyone pushed, anyone grabbed, anyone shoved. And Jamie's argument back to me was, well, what about the bruise on her arm? I don't know about the bruise on her arm. I can tell you that if I say this, I'm going to get killed. I'm not going there. I'm just not going to go there. But to me, personally, I have been in these gaggles. I have been in the middle. I have been the guy that has been chased. I have had people surround me, and I see arms go out all the time of people around me just kind of blocking. It's happened a lot in my life. And I don't see anything here. I'm looking to see something, and I don't see anything that remotely looks like an assault. If I did, I would say so. I don't see it. Joining us now, Danielle, McLaughljn, constitutional expert and attorney, Adriana Cohn, radio talk show host, conservative columnist for the Boston Herald. Welcome both of you to the program.
Hi, Sean. Great to be here, Sean.
Danielle, do you see an assault? You're an attorney.
Okay, so first things first, the allegation is simple battery under Florida law, and a battery is an intentional touching against somebody's will. So I see Corey Lewandowski reaching past a Secret Service agent, grabbing Michelle Fields, pulling her downwards.
Stop for a second. Stop. I don't see a pull. And I don't see a grab. I see a hand going out as a block. I'm not doubting, because it's actually not visible, that maybe he grabbed. But you don't see that on the tape, and you certainly don't see. And I've got eyes as good as anybody. I don't see anyone being pulled or anybody being yanked back to the ground.
Well, I think I agree with you that we don't see the tape cuts before we see anything happening which might be falling to the ground, it might not be. And I also want to clarify, Michelle Fields on March 10th, in her own words, on Breitbart says, I almost fell to the ground. The police report March 11th that she made said she almost fell to the ground. And then the police report, which uses the video from Trump as corroborating evidence, also says she almost fell to the ground.
Is this now? So wait a minute. So we do understand that if there's a crowd of people and reporters, have you ever been in a reporter gaggle like that when they surround a candidate? Have you ever been in one?
No, and I imagine it's pretty rough.
Okay, listen, I've turned around and I've actually hit cameras in my head. I've turned around, I've been hit with microphones. Right. There's general pushing and shoving. So does that mean any time there's any contact that is a crime according to Florida law? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not what I'm saying. And actually, you bring up a great point, which was where I was going to go next, Sean. And that's the notion of what would Lewandowski's defense be. And it might be a little bit of a stretch. There's a couple of things he can do. Number one, lack of intent. Intent is very hard to prove. Number two, the notion of mutual combat. This is normally a defense we see when we are a bar brawl, for example. You are entering a situation where you know that there is going to be touching, pushing, that kind of thing. So if I'm Lewandowski's attorney, which I'm of course not, I would make the argument that she knew going into the gaggle, as you say, that there were going to be this kind of pushing and shoving. I think there's a broader issue here, and I'm sure we will get to this, and that is what she is doing, because she said this happened. She was derogated. She was derided. She was told that she was delusional. There is now video that backs up what she says, and she's using legal process to right what she considers to be a perceived wrong. It's clearly in the hands of the police and the district attorney. But this is what
wait a minute. But you have a prosecutor that now we know is a Hillary supporter.
We do know that.
Look, here's the smell. I'm just looking at the video, and I'm like, it is such a nothing to me. It is
a nothing, Sean. It's really overblown, I have to say. I've watched the video, too, and it looks to me that Corey Lewandowski is just guiding traffic and people away from his client because his client needs to leave. And so it looks like just crowd control. And, yes, he touched her arm, but, if simple battery, the only threshold is if you simply touch someone's body without their permission, then can Donald Trump countersue? Maybe you can answer this question, Danielle, because you're a lawyer. Can he countersue because he claims Michelle touched him twice?
Right, and because this is criminal law, the notions of suing or countersuing don't really apply. But there is the possibility that if Donald Trump really wanted to, under Florida law, he could file a criminal complaint and allege that Michelle Fields, in fact, battered him. It's a very low threshold, and what happens here is what matters is intent. And as I said earlier, what he meant to do, that's really going to be where the rubber hits the road. And I really want to address this ADA point because all we have is a police report. Lewandowski will appear in a couple of days.
Well, the police report even mentions weapons, for crying out loud in it. You saw the report.
I beg your pardon?
The report actually mentions weapons, but apparently I guess that's part of the general I guess the way they actually write these things, because there's no weapon, obviously.
Certainly. Police has to run down all leads. And I will say, and other commentators and other lawyers have said this, it's pretty unusual in a criminal case, a battery case, to have an eyewitness account, a second eyewitness account, audio, and also the videotape. So normally these things don't happen with all eyes watching and all ears hearing. Ultimately, this comes down to intent. And I think the bigger issue here is the Trump campaign, and certainly Lewandowski, could have shut this down by acknowledging it and by making this go away. But because they've doubled down in this very aggressive way, which is basically how they run the campaign, I think this is what's happening. She said, I need to get my credibility back, so I'm gonna go to the police.
I don't think they intentionally didn't want to say they're sorry. I think it was more like they didn't realize maybe they did anything wrong. There's just crowd control, and you just had to, kind of shoo people away to get away from the client. I don't know about you, Sean and Danielle, but I've seen more pushing and shoving in shopping malls during Black Friday. I've been pushed. I've been shoved.
Yeah, or in a subway. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing with you, Adriana.
That's actually that's a great analogy, Adriana. That's really funny.
Yeah, or a subway in New York City. I mean, I think this has been escalated because the Trump campaign and Lewandowski didn't acknowledge it, apologize, and everybody could have moved on. I mean, she's a reporter for Breitbart. You know, this isn't some HuffPo reporter trying to bring him down. She has written favorably of him. Her publication is very favorable to him. All signals point to her credible, to the fact that this really did happen. And I think Trump could have shut this down, but he doubled down, which he always does. I'm not sure this is going to ultimately hurt him, but this is what you kind of get what you pay for when you decide to go out aggressively against people who call you out.
Well, Danielle, I guess from my perspective is, I wish I could. I don't think, I mean, based on the email that Jamie sent me, her boyfriend last night, I don't think she's happy with me or the fact that I don't see it the way they see it. You know, I do have people in my life that see it differently. I mean, we like Ben Shapiro. We like Alicia, who used to be our producer, and they see it very differently. I'm just wondering, from my perspective, there's such an intense battle and hatred with Cruz and Trump people right now. I wonder if people's perceptions of the event are altered based on who they do not support. In other words, if you want to believe a narrative that the Trump campaign is aggressive towards women, you're going to use this to further your narrative. I'm just trying. Well, I have no agenda here. I'll be perfectly fine with either one of them as the candidate, and I guess I'm a bit of an anomaly. But because they right now both sides have dug in and hate each other, and I'm hoping there's going to be unity. But I will tell you that the way it's being covered and the way people are building this thing up is obscene to me.
Well, we certainly have bigger things to worry about, and Sean, I respect the fact that you will support the nominee no matter who that is, and I frankly wish that our GOP nominees would do the same thing because the process matters, and you and I have talked about this before. Ultimately, this will be a decision for the DA whether they go forward or not. I'm not convinced that you're wrong, that this is just something that you have to deal with when you're in the press gaggle. But it's obviously out of our hands, and ultimately it may be a jury. I also want to say that for all the criticisms that I have for Trump, I respect his loyalty to Lewandowski. But, I think we could see this as a symbol of the aggression in that campaign. And I always ask the question when these things come up,
his hands in
with Hillary Clinton's campaign manager.
Well, Huma Abedin.
What would people say?
Well, wait a minute. Huma Abedin literally shoved somebody. We're going to show this on TV tonight. There was an incident with Rambo Deadfish's campaign where they're very aggressive, far more aggressive. Huma wasn't brought up on charges. The Rambo people weren't brought up on charges.
Maybe the difference is the aggressiveness that we're seeing in the campaign and the rallies, and maybe there is a back and forth there. I don't know, but maybe that's why this has been escalated.
Peter King actually had a funny line about this. He said, based on the media coverage, it made him think that Michelle Fields was hit by a baseball bat. And then you look at the video, and it is so mild. I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up in New York. Maybe because I've been in this environment so much in my life. Maybe because if you go into a crowd, this is the type of thing that happens. I don't understand how this could have blown up to the extent that it's now blown up.
Exactly, and it even made its way into the town hall last night. I looked at this video. I thought, this is a non-event. As you said, Sean, I've been in these media scrums. I've been pushed. I've been shoved. I've been pushed more in a hot shoe sale in a department store, I'm telling you, where soccer moms, get aggressive. I mean, it's unbelievable. We've been pushed at rock concerts trying to exit crowd. I was just watching in New York City at a Broadway play, leaving. There was all these crowds jostling and pushing. And then look at these Easter egg hunts that happened. The parents, it was chaos. They were checking each other, body blows. It was so aggressive. None of those parents filed charges, that I know of. So this goes on a lot in our life. And I watched that video and I thought, my gosh, this is like, it looks like nothing happened. And another thing I think that
I'm going to have to bring charges against my martial arts sensei because he kicks the crap out of me, 4 days a week.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, and he punched me today. Keeps punching me as hard as he can in the stomach till I'm ready to throw up to build up my pain tolerance. And obviously we're building muscle, but he punches me so hard. Maybe I should just get a video of it and sue him.
Two things. Number one, it's consensual, so I'm afraid there's no battery there. And
it's not consensual. I don't want him to do it. He makes me do it.
I think you need to build a pain tolerance for this cycle, Sean. I think you will do, so it's probably doing you good.
All right. Appreciate both of you being with us. Thank you, Danielle and Adriana.